Hey there, folks. My name is Eric from Support Adventure, the expat outsourcing company. We are a community of people who live remotely around the world and work for the English-speaking world online. I wanted to make this video about the benefits of working remotely and working from home in general, because most of the people in Support Adventure, at least after they're fully trained for the positions they inhabit, have the option to work from home. And even some of the people that we hire who initially want to work from an office space or some sort of co-working space, they do eventually transition to wanting to work at home. And this is because working at home offers a lifestyle which is very convenient and very easy to balance out in a lot of cases. So I'm going to go over the benefits first, and then I think at the end I'll talk a bit about the disadvantages. So number one would be, of course, no commute. When you are working at home, all you have to do is wake up and roll out of bed and pick up your computer and start working. Contrast that with going on the tube in London or going on the subway in New York or Toronto or any of those big business cities and being packed like a sardine in a tin can with a bunch of other people who are going to work. It's absolutely much better to be able to not have to commute, because if you've seen morning commutes, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this have, they're not the most pleasant ordeals to go through. Basically, you're either driving and there's lots of traffic because lots of other people are trying to get to the office for 8:30 or 9 a.m., or you're in a subway or some sort of other vehicle, bus or whatever, trying to get there for 9 a.m. with a bunch of other people who aren't really happy about the fact that they're doing it. And the vibe and the energy you get from all of that is, well, not so inspiring. Now, waking up and working from home can have a disadvantage as well, because, well, you don't have that sort of rev up period. You don't have that distinction between work and play. So what I recommend to people is go for a walk, go out for coffee, and then come back and start work from home, rather than just rolling out of bed and starting immediately. If you're working on a set schedule like 9 to 5, then I would recommend that you wake up and go out first and come back for the start time, as if you were commuting to work, but you don't have to go as far and you don't need to cram yourself into a vehicle with other people. All right, moving on to number 2. One of the main benefits for people like me who are very focused and maybe introverted by nature. Believe it or not, I am an introvert. I am one with social skills, but yeah, solitude. People like me thrive on solitude, peace, and quiet to get their work done. This means that essentially we do our best work when we're uninterrupted, when we are able to focus on a task at hand and seek within ourselves to find the best way to execute that. Now, that doesn't mean that we're people that don't enjoy talking with other people or collaborating with them. But what it means that the default for us should be in a quiet place where we're left to do our thing and reach our full potential in working alone. Maybe putting on our own music, maybe having our own sorts of surroundings, being able to choose whether to sit at the desk, sit on the couch, and just sort of give us control of our own environment to make ourselves comfortable so that we can focus on the task at hand. Also, I find that I'm much better at focusing on telephone calls and video conferencing when I am alone in a space, in a space where I can close the door. So I don't think I'm very loud when I talk online, and I don't think other people would want to be in the same room when I talk, because I naturally have this booming voice that would fill any open office space that I would be placed in. So I think for online collaboration, telephone calls, video conferencing, and for getting stuff done, it's better to have control over my own environment and be able to close the door and really have my own space. Number 3, about working from home or working from a residential space. I mean, I'm including Airbnbs when I travel where I work from in this. The ability to eat at home and cook your own food and have that element of domestic bliss. Some people have wives or girlfriends. I'm single. And well, basically being able to work from home allows me to control what I put into my body rather than being at the mercy of fast food places around the office. I can actually take the time, my lunch break, to prepare a meal that fits checks all the boxes of what I like to consider good nutrition. So usually my go-to would be dips like hummus or guacamole that I would prepare fresh during lunch hour, or salads that I would prepare with ingredients. If I have a 1 hour lunch break, that's even enough time here in Belgrade, Serbia, where I live, to go to the local green market where the people from the village will sell all their produce here. So that's a huge benefit, to be able to control what you eat and have that element, and also be able to exercise in your space as well. I do yoga in the morning before I start work, and it's a great way to clear my head and prepare for the workday. A little bit of exercise. And if you do that in an office, I mean, people think you're strange, to be honest, unless they have a special room for that, where a lot of offices, more modern forward think offices, do. But I like my own space, my own food. I've got a food scale so I can measure the ingredients and write down how many calories I'm putting into my body. All that sort of optimization of diet and lifestyle works a lot better when you're working from home in your own space. The next one, particularly pertinent for supportive venture, is, well, being able to choose the city where you live. This journey started when I lived in London, UK, and I wanted a way that I could support myself while living in Belgrade, Serbia, and working online. A vibrant city that's really cool and affordable, and I love the people, love the culture, and all that stuff, compared to those places which basically exist and people move to them because of the opportunity. Well, now in the 21st century, luckily, through remote work, we have the ability to tap into opportunity to provide value to the world online over the internet. So what does this mean? You can choose based on any factor you want where you want to live, and there just needs to be like solid internet and power there. And you can do it. You can move there, live there, travel around, and all that stuff. I'll talk about that in a minute. But this is a huge win for lifestyle. For people who want to design their own life, like the previous thing that I talked about with the controlling your own food and exercise, controlling the city where you live and what's available there, and separating the idea of where you need to be for a job and telecommuting into that place with where you want to be for your lifestyle. It's amazing. So we tend to like medium-sized cities, let's say 2 million people, like Belgrade, Serbia, Medellin, Colombia, Chiang Mai, Thailand, and that's where we sort of flock to, because those are cities that have lifestyle options for us, where they're not so big that you have to always take public transit to get around, where you can have nice areas where you have a good expat lifestyle. That's what we love. So yeah, that brings us to our next point, number 5, business and pleasure, separating the two. I like the fact that I'm working with London, New York, Los Angeles, and all these different places around the world that are great centers of commerce with excellent cultures for getting things done and providing a fair business environment. Yet I live in different places like Belgrade, Serbia, Chiang Mai, Thailand, and Medellin, Colombia, for the fact that, yeah, very similarly, I love those places. They're great. When I walk outside, no matter how stressed I am because of work, it's always something different, more relaxing, more laid back. Now, these laid back places don't necessarily make the best places for business, but there's enough infrastructure like internet and whatever you need to get business done. And it's just possible to live in these places. They're very livable, very good for families, very good for, well, the healthcare is very good in all 3 cities. Private healthcare doesn't cost that much money. They're all very walkable. The weather's pretty good in all of them compared to places like London, a lot of those places. And just separating the business and pleasure makes a great amount of peace of mind. And wherever you choose, number 6, the ability to change it up is always appreciated. Whether that means, rather than working from home, going to a co-working space one day, rather than working from the city where you normally are, to go to a beach and work from an Airbnb or hotel room in a beach one day, to travel around the world and every weekend switch cities and approach each work week from a different place. Some of our staff do lifestyles like that, and it works. It requires more care to get what you need, but still, basically what it comes down to is the ability to change it up is what attracts people to support adventure. So basically what I'm telling you is the idea of hiring people and making them come to an office every day is absolutely obsolete. I'm sorry, a lot of you are still doing this, hiring people like that, but it's absolutely obsolete, and you will find that you have a much inferior pool of talent by only focusing on your own local area and those who are willing to commute to an office every day from within that local area. I'm sorry, but you're just not going to be a competitive offering to a lot of the best people who are the more creative people who do their best work and alone in a self-directed way. And you need to give them options, and Supportive Venture gives their staff options of where to work. For the only sort of limitation is usually time zone. And there's a little bit of flexibility in that if you're willing to work, in the evening or overnight rather than a regular day shift. Yeah, you have the ability to change it up. I mean, we're very strict that you do have to show up to work. You do have to have internet power, and power going out isn't an excuse. And when people start telling us that they're not able to work because of the power, we start having serious conversations for them. It's a responsibility for our contractors to be able to come and deliver their work, come online and deliver their work. So we take that very seriously. And going back to the idea of the office being obsolete, most of these jobs in the information sector, at least, the IT support field, definitely, they can be done from anywhere. And all you need to ensure that the team members are productive is the right communication policy. Now, do you honestly think that filling an open office where everybody can hear what everyone else is saying is the most efficient way for your team to communicate with each other? I don't. In fact, that drives me insane. When I can hear what everybody's saying, it just drives me insane. So basically what I would like to emphasize is that you need to look at the communication policy, how you're communicating with your remote workers, and make that the template. And if you know when to use telephone, when to use chat, when to use email or ticketing systems, then you can really make the communication, and when to use video calls, of course, you can really make the communication of your team optimal. So when to use telephone and video communication. You should use this when you need to discuss things in depth in a conversational format. So you need to have a back and forth, and in that back and forth, you can get what can be achieved in 2 weeks of emails or 25 minutes of chat done in 2 minutes of actually hashing it out in real time and talking with someone. And with video chat, you can look them in the eye almost and sort of, get that as close to face-to-face communication without having to commute or cram them all into an office together. That's really good. Chat, I would say chat is probably most useful for when you're already on a call to ask a quick question of someone, or to ask a quick question. Hey, we've got a call booked for now. Here's the link to get on the Zoom call. Hey, we've got a call booked. Are you available for this? Hey, are you there? Can you take are you busy right now? Can you take on a new issue number 2? Yeah, so we always try to get people in our communication policy to write the whole issue rather than just saying hi and then waiting for them to say hi back and then writing what you want before you press enter. Write the whole scenario, what you want from them, the questions you want to ask, and then press enter. It'll pop up on the screen. They can answer immediately. That makes chat a lot more efficient. The worst is having someone saying hi and then distracting you from what you're doing, and then watching for 5 minutes the fact that they're typing. Some people still type like this, unfortunately, and watching them type for 5 minutes before you actually figure out why they're interrupting you. So if you don't want to interrupt people, the best thing to do is send an email, and it's understood that people are going to get back to you when it's convenient. So if it's urgent, call or send a chat that says what you need. If it's not urgent, send an email. And if they don't answer your email within a couple of days, send a follow-up, because some of us have crazy email inboxes that just get lots of email. So that's pretty good. So all in all, if you're the micromanaging type of manager or business owner that likes to look over everybody's shoulders all the time, see that they're there on time, all that, well, keep on having people in the office, but it limits the ability for your business to scale itself if you're a business owner. And if you're a staff member, it limits the ability for you to get the best work done, because the best work comes from actually sitting down and doing good work rather than being in a office and distracting, communicating properly with your coworkers. And this can be done in this day and age really 100% remotely. And I think that if you give staff members the right structure for where they should put their notes about the work that they're doing, if you give them the right structure on how to write those notes, if you give them the right weekly catch-up calls and the ability to raise their concerns and report on their progress, then if you give them all that structure, then from a bird's eye view, while you're working remotely from where your employees are at, you should be able to see in the system what's getting done, and the work should speak for itself. That's the main thing. You don't need to micromanage. You need to give people the ability to report in the correct place what they're being done, so you can review whenever you want. And when you review, the work should speak for itself. And if someone's not performing remotely, get them on a call and talk about the issues just like you would face to face. I try to get all my clients and contractors, for sure, to have video and a good headset like this, by the way. For perfect communication, you need like a Sennheiser headset, or at least a Logitech, or one of those really good brands that specializes in making a microphone that plugs into the USB plugs into the USB port into the computer and provides flawless communication. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is Supportive Venture. I mean, this is our business. We're helping people work remotely. And a lot of these things aren't obvious, that you need a good headset to people who are applying for remote work, or people who are running businesses that hire people remotely. So we are always trying to be on the cutting edge of remote work. How knowledge is passed from business owners to remote staff members and all of that stuff, how the whole thing works. So write in the comments below, how do you like working remotely? What is the biggest barrier? Because I said that I was going to talk about the disadvantages. Well, if people don't have good communication guidelines, it's hard to work remotely. If people are the sort of person who craves constant validation from other people and constant social interaction with their coworkers, maybe remote working isn't for them. And also, it can be a lonely life if you do end up focusing, and the main thing in life is your work, and you get wrapped up in that, and you're in a foreign place where you don't have many friends. That can be a disadvantage. But in cities where Supportive Venture is active, you can always call up the other Supportive Venture staff members. And yeah, working remotely, I mean, if you're traveling all the time, it can be hard to keep up with it. If you're on a flight, jumping off and on flights, it can be hard to keep up with your work. So we try to get people who are doing what's called slow travel, and who are based in places long term to do that, who can set up their routine, set up their environment so it's optimal. And well, yeah, the other disadvantage, obviously, with remote work is you can't sit down and have a beer with the people, or have a coffee with the people after work and speak more casually. You can speak casually on video calls, but it tends to be not the focus. I mean, I have some remote contacts who I've never met, and I really feel that they're my brothers and sisters, and that I really love working with them, but it doesn't always happen. So you have to make an extra effort to connect socially with your staff members when working online, to build that rapport. So yeah, Supportive Venture. I think the benefits far outweigh the disadvantages, and working remotely is definitely the future, and you're going to see it more and more. So thanks for watching. Write in the comments below what you think, what your impressions are, and yeah, thanks for watching. Bye now. Take care.